Hey guys, and welcome to Behind the Board Backgammon Podcast. My name is Tony Scott.
And I am Sarah Parker.
This episode is sponsored by Backgammon Galaxy, the biggest backgammon community in the galaxy, available on App Store and Google Play. All right, so I know a lot of you out there, you really want to take your backgammon game to the next level, right? And we got this article from one of our listeners by Backgammon Grandmaster Mark Olson called "Is Beauty a Concept in Backgammon?" And I don't know about you, but that title alone, it totally pulls me in, right?
Yeah.
We're going to get this peek inside the mind of a grandmaster, see how they think about strategy.
Yeah, it's cool because he's not just telling us what to think.
Right.
He's breaking down why
Yes.
behind, how to think strategically
I love that.
about backgammon.
It's like, that feeling when you're playing and you make a move and it just feels right. Like it just flows.
Totally.
He's like, there's a reason for that.
Yes.
And he actually gives it a name. He calls it beauty. So to start off, he asks his big question. Can we even define beauty in a game like backgammon?
Interesting.
And so to answer that, he introduces us to these 4 fundamental principles, he calls them, of checker play.
Okay.
That she says when you use these, it leads to a more beautiful and ultimately stronger position on the board.
Got it.
Okay, so hit me with it. What's the first principle?
Okay, so this first one is all about efficiency, and he calls it checker utilization. So picture this. You've got your checkers all on the board.
All right.
You want each one to be pulling its weight.
Okay.
You don't want any slackers just hanging out, doing nothing.
Right.
That's checker utilization in a nutshell, making sure every checker is working towards your overall strategy.
Okay, so no wasted checkers. Everything is moving towards a common goal.
Exactly.
Love it.
Yeah.
What's next?
All right, next we have purity.
Purity.
This is all about avoiding those messy, cluttered positions on the board. So imagine trying to drive through a city with no traffic lights, cars jammed everywhere.
Oh, total chaos.
Right. Chaos. In backgammon, purity means keeping your checkers unblocked, mobile, ready to move freely.
So less traffic jam on the board, more open roads for our checkers.
Exactly.
Okay, makes sense. So we've got efficiency, we've got keeping things clean. What else makes for a beautiful game, according to Olson?
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The third principle is all about options.
Okay.
And Olson calls this flexibility.
Okay.
So you want to have as many good dice rolls working for you as possible. Think of it like having more tools in your toolbox.
Right.
The more options you have, the better equipped you are to handle whatever the game throws at you.
So it's about setting yourself up for future success.
Yeah.
Not just making a move that looks good in the moment.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about thinking several moves ahead, anticipating your opponent's game and giving yourself the best possible chance of success.
Okay, yeah.
Now, this fourth principle, this one is about freedom. And Olson calls it, you guessed it, freedom.
Okay.
And nobody likes to feel trapped, especially in a game like backgammon.
Right. Especially when your opponent has a strong prime, right? And just to quickly clarify for our listeners who might be new to backgammon, a prime is basically like a roadblock
Yes, exactly.
that your opponent builds to trap your checkers.
Exactly. So freedom in this context means avoiding those situations where your checkers are stuck behind your opponent's prime. You want to be able to maneuver strategically, always be a step ahead, and maintain your ability to control the flow of the game.
Got it. Okay. So we've got our 4 principles: checker utilization, purity, flexibility, and freedom. But I got to ask, how do these actually translate to beauty on the board? Paint us a picture. Help us visualize this.
Okay. So imagine a beautiful backgammon position as a perfectly organized workshop.
Right.
Everything has its place, tools are readily available, there's space to work efficiently.
Right.
That is a beautiful position in backgammon. Everything is streamlined, your checkers are positioned strategically, and you have options for different dice rolls. Now, picture the opposite. A cluttered, disorganized workshop where you can't find anything. Tools are strewn about, there's no clear workspace, and it's just hard to get anything done.
Yeah, it's like, why am I even in here right now?
Exactly. This is an ugly position in backgammon.
Okay.
It's messy, inflexible, and it just limits your options.
That's a fantastic analogy
Thank you.
because I can see it now. A beautiful position is like this well-oiled machine. Everything's working in sync. An ugly position, it's like trying to find something in, like a messy junk drawer.
The worst.
Just frustration and wasted potential. Okay, I'm totally getting this whole beauty thing in backgammon, but I need to see it in action. Does Olson give us any, like, real-life examples of what this looks like in the game?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Olson actually walks us through some of his own games.
Wow.
And he points out moves that he considers beautiful and ugly based on these principles.
Okay.
And, get this, he even includes examples from matches against a world champion.
No way. Okay, so we're not just talking theory here.
No, no, no.
We're talking about how a grandmaster actually puts these principles into play in a real game.
Exactly.
What's one of the examples?
Okay, so in one example, he's facing a weak inner board.
Okay.
And just so everyone knows, the inner board is that last section of the board where you're trying to bear off your checkers.
Got it.
Think of it like the home stretch of the game.
Okay, so his opponent's home stretch is looking a little shaky.
Exactly, yeah. So because his opponent's inner board is weak, Olson doesn't need to waste time playing defensively.
Right.
He can go straight for the win.
I like it.
So he makes this incredible move, 13/10, 5 quarters, and it just perfectly embodies all 4 principles. Man. He utilizes his checkers efficiently, maintains purity in his positioning, increases his flexibility for future rolls,
Right.
and enhances his freedom on the board all in one move.
Wow, what a power play. So it's not just about, like, immediate gain. Like, this one beautiful move sets him up for success down the line.
Exactly.
Love it.
And then Olson contrasts this with another position where he admits he made what he calls a slightly ugly move.
Okay.
And in this case, he was afraid of leaving a blot exposed. And a blot is just a lone checker that's vulnerable to being hit by your opponent.
Right, okay. So he played it a little bit safe and ended up kind of hurting him strategically.
Exactly, yeah. He sacrificed a bit of purity in his position because he was playing, like, out of fear a little bit.
Okay.
And he explains that the better, more beautiful move would have been to maintain that clean, uncluttered structure, even if it meant taking a small risk.
So it's about, like, weighing the risks and the rewards, but always keeping those core principles in mind.
Exactly.
You know, it's funny because as you're talking about this, I'm starting to, like, see these concepts in my own games.
Yeah, yes.
You know what I mean?
That's the beauty of it. As you internalize these principles, you start to develop this intuitive sense of what makes a strong position.
Yeah.
You begin to see the board through this lens of beauty and ugliness.
Right.
And that's when things really click.
So I'm building up my backgammon intuition.
Yeah.
It's like a sixth sense for good moves.
Exactly. Exactly.
But okay, let's get practical here. Like, how does recognizing this beauty actually translate into winning games?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right?
Right.
Think of it this way. By understanding these principles, you're essentially training your brain to recognize patterns and evaluate positions more effectively. It's like you're learning a new language.
Oh?
The language of a grandmaster.
I love that analogy, right? So I'm not just like moving checkers around anymore.
Right.
I'm actually making strategic decisions based on these fundamental principles of beauty.
Exactly. And the more you practice this,
Right.
the more intuitive it becomes. You just instinctively know
Yeah.
which moves are going to create strong, flexible, beautiful positions.
Right.
And which ones are going to lead to those messy, restrictive, ugly situations.
So by understanding these principles of beauty, I'm becoming a more intuitive, more confident player.
Exactly.
Does Olson offer any other like tools or exercises that we can use to really like solidify our understanding of these concepts?
Yes, he does. And it's brilliant. He includes what he calls quiz positions in the article. So he'll present like a scenario on the board.
Okay.
And then he asks you, the reader, to apply the 4 principles to find the most beautiful and therefore strategically sound move.
Wait, hold on. We get homework too. I thought this was supposed to be fun.
It is fun. It is fun. Trust me. Think of it like a mental workout
Okay.
for your backgammon skills.
Okay.
He presents you with a challenge, lets you ponder the best move, and then, here's the best part, he provides a solution.
Okay.
And he walks you through why a particular move is the most beautiful choice in that situation.
Okay. I got to admit, that does sound pretty awesome. It's like having like a personal coaching session with a grandmaster, but, you know, without the pressure of an actual game.
Exactly.
I'm in. So, okay, we've covered a lot of ground here talking about beauty and backgammon. If we had to boil it all down, like what's the one thing you really want our listeners to take away from all of this?
You know, I think if there's one big takeaway, it's this. Next time you're at the backgammon board and you're facing a decision, right?
Right.
Don't just see the checkers and the points.
Okay.
Look for the beauty
Okay.
in the potential moves.
I like that.
Analyze each option. through the lens of these 4 principles that Olson lays out.
So it's like he's giving us a whole new way to see the game, right?
Exactly.
It's not just him. I mean, didn't he mention like another backgammon legend who had a similar philosophy?
Yeah. You've got a good memory. He quotes Paul McGreal, who famously said, "Put your checkers where they belong."
Ooh, put your checkers where they belong.
Right.
It's simple, but it's like profound at the same time. How does that tie into this whole beauty thing?
Well, think about it. When you position your checkers with purpose, right?
Okay.
You're not just scattering them around randomly, but you're placing them strategically. You're naturally going to create a more efficient, more flexible, and ultimately more beautiful position.
So it's like there's this natural order,
Yeah.
like a harmony to these beautiful positions.
Yeah.
And once you understand the principles behind that, you start making these decisions that like resonate with that deeper logic of the game.
Totally.
You said earlier it's like learning a language.
Yeah.
Right.
It is.
And like the more you practice, the more fluent you become.
Yes, exactly.
And then you start seeing the board like a grandmaster.
Exactly. Yeah.
This has been awesome. I feel like I'm looking at backgammon with like new eyes. So for our listeners who like they're ready to like really dive into this whole concept of beauty and they want to like really test their understanding, where can they find Olson's article?
Yeah, so you can find his article online. Just search "Is Beauty a Concept in Backgammon?"
Yeah.
by Mark Olson. And definitely don't forget to check out those quiz positions he includes in there. They're really fun, and it's a great way to really challenge yourself and, put all this stuff that we talked about into practice.
Who knows? Maybe you'll like discover this hidden talent for finding beauty in all the right places.
Exactly.
Until next time.
This episode of Behind the Board was brought to you by Backgammon Galaxy, the biggest backgammon community in the galaxy. Download the app on App Store or Google Play and start improving your backgammon skills today. More info available on backgammongalaxy.com. See you in the next episode.